Hey, good morning, everybody. Love that clock, that countdown clock, right? Just gives you a couple more minutes to make sure that you're on cue for when we get started. But welcome to Thursday Morning Live. Glad that you're here this morning. I know that we're in for a treat this morning with this morning's guest. So grab your coffee, sit back. Over the next few minutes, we'll just talk a little bit about Chicago business, right? Before we do that, remember, I always talk about intentions, right? So, what were your intentions for today? How did you start your day? How are you going to end your day? What are you going to get done throughout the day? Did you sit down and take time to work through those, think about those, and how you were going to handle your day? So, I think it's really important that we're intentional. Beginning with those daily disciplines in the morning and how we get our day started. This morning's show is brought to you by My Core Intentions. I have a couple of events coming up over the next couple of weeks that I want to tell you about. Monday evening, I have a passive investing webinar that's going on. It's 7 p.m. Monday night. I'm going to talk about real estate fundamentals, and then I'm going to talk about the difference between active and passive marketing and how that can work into your investment portfolio, especially as we get more and more into this recessionary period. Then also on the 18th of August, I have a full day virtual event going on. It's a property management boot camp. Love for you to join us. If you have interest in either one of those, just shoot me a message or a comment this morning in the comments. I'll make sure that I get you the link so that you can get registered for those. Hey, let's talk about the guest. Our guest this morning, Rich Scanland. Rich is a Chicago native. He's with a CBiz. He does business development for accounting and tax services, tax preparations. You know what? I've had a couple of meetings with Rich, some really great conversations. So I think you'll be in for a big surprise this morning. Let's bring Rich in. Hey, Rich, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, and I like your philosophy about getting the morning started correctly and getting those disciplines in. I'm full in favor of doing that as well.
Yeah, intentionality. It's so important, isn't it? That
Agreed.
we start our day on the right foot and at least have a direction that we're going in, right?
Absolutely.
So, hey, and I just want to make one comment. Anybody who's out listening this morning, if you have a comment, throw it in the chat. Good morning, Melissa. Good to see you. Love to hear who's here this morning, where you're from. Throw some notes or comments in the chat, and we'd love to chat with you. So, hey, Rich, one question I always ask whenever I start these shows with a guest is, in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Good question. And Mike, I've been called many names over the years, so
Listen, we're not throwing hamburgers at you, Rich.
Yeah, okay, good. And it's a G-rated show, right? So
yeah, right. Well, however you want to put it.
Right. I will say personable is probably the best way to describe me. I'm very intentional about building relationships. I think my clients have a good understanding of who I am and what I do and how I can help them. But for me, it starts off with being personable and building relationships with them.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's why you and I connected, because we both have that philosophy, right? And
I agree.
We come from that same mold. And you know what? Relationships are really important. I the people that I coach and I work with, I teach them all the time. From day one, you need to be working on building relationships, build your database.
Yep.
I think we have to act like a farmer, right? You've got to plant that seed, and maybe you and I connected that first time, but then we've met a couple of times after that and had conversations, and you got to water those seeds, right? And
right. Well, and it's like with any relationship, Mike. I even associate my personal relationships with my business relationships. Look, when I met my wife, almost 30 years ago, we didn't decide on the first date that we were going to get married. We went out on a couple dates. We got to know each other. We built a relationship. And so I associate my personal relationship with business relationships. It takes time.
Yeah, it does take time. And, I think a lot of times people try to rush that too much, but Hey, you and I both been at this a long time. So speaking of a long time, talk about your background a little bit and, what you're currently doing and how you
Yeah.
got to that place.
Yep. So yeah, I've always had a career in sales, business development, client. We'll use that word relationships again over my few years that I've been doing this. And currently at the firm I'm with now, that is my primary role is to uh, bring new clients into the firm for tax and audit, and there's other services we provide as well too. I'm sure we'll talk about, but primary goal is to bring in new clients, build those relationships, and then after those companies or individuals become clients, and then just maintain those relationships. So it's a true BD role, but then there's a client relationship manager aspect to it as well. So it's a hunter and a farmer position all in one.
Yeah. Have you always been in the accounting space doing that, or have you?
No, I've only been in the accounting world for the past 6 years. I was previously spent about 15 years, 16 years now, in the payroll world. So I work for some of the bigger payroll providers. I'm sure you know the names and the letters that are out there.
Yeah, yeah,
But what I did, Mike, I decided that it would be important to build my network, and really feed off my network, feeding my network and getting fed by my network. And what happened was I made an intentional point to go out and build relationships with accounting firms because accountants recognize when there's payroll opportunities or payroll tax issues.
mm,
So I had relationships and still have, quite frankly, relationships all over the Chicagoland area. Well, CBiz was one of those relationships I had. And again, throughout the years, built a really good relationship with a couple of the partners there. They admitted to me that there were a bunch of accountants and sales and business development's really not in their wheelhouse, but they recognized some of my strengths and some of my abilities. So we had conversations about joining the firm and helping them grow the business and grow the firm and kind of help taking it to the next level. And so here I am 6 years later, and it's been a great move.
yeah. Hey, I've heard a lot of people say from, over the years that, hey, accountants are accountants,
Yeah.
right? They all know the numbers and follow the IRS forms and that. But, in my conversations with you, you've really kind of indicated that that's not true, that that's different. And so why is that different?
Yeah, I think we are a different breed. Um, I think there's a couple reasons for that, Mike. I think I have helped the accountants in my office understand my world and help them understand how important it is to go out and do some networking and get in front of people and have conversations. And I've helped them along with that. The nice thing about it, they've taught me a little bit about their world. So I know a little bit about tax and audit and accounting practices. I'm certainly not an expert, but I certainly know enough to be a little bit more than dangerous. But I think it really comes down to the personalities too. And I got to admit, most times when people do talk to us or talk to the guys internally, they, I don't think we really act like, your typical accountant type, although they are. But I think there's, again, we'll use the word relationship. I think they've understood that relationships are important and you have to be personable and you have to be able to relate to people. And I think my team has done a good job of finding ways to be relatable to people. They'll still admit they're accountants at the end of the day,
Yeah.
but I think they've been smart enough over the past couple of years to kind of broaden their horizons a little bit and kind of understand my world a little bit as I've understood theirs.
Yeah. I was never good at math in school.
Debits and credits not your wheelhouse.
Yeah, no. But what's funny is I can remember being in school and specifically having a conversation with the math teacher saying, I'll never use this stuff.
Yeah,
It's crazy. And today I use it every day.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
So, and he said, yeah, you'll use it someday. I was like, Mr. Thompson, I'll never use this stuff. And, but today I love spreadsheets and I love, models and looking, we syndicate apartment offerings and to look at the financials and go through them and see what works and what doesn't work and how you can make things work better. the math never lies, right? And
Yeah.
it's part of everyday life. I mean, you got to look at gas prices, right?
Yeah. I've always heard the adage that liars figure, but figures never lie. So you're
Oh,
right. The numbers are the numbers.
oh, that's interesting. That's a crazy comment. Hey, so you mentioned earlier about being in sales for
Yep.
years, right? Um, so you're on the business development side now, and is that the same as being a salesperson?
It is. To me, I've had some experience in more of a transactional sales environment. Um, I don't really associate. Oh, I do associate this role as a sales role. However, it's not transactional. It's very. Um, it's more of a conversation. It's more consultative because we're not out trying to just get the next deal and then move on.
Yeah,
It's really sitting down with the prospect, understanding their needs, um, helping them understand how we can help. Because look, anybody could add the figures, right? Like we talked about, everybody can do the math. I think what differentiates ourselves in that world is we really take the time to sit down and be advisors to our clients. Mike, there are several I'll call opportunities or loopholes in the tax code that not
okay.
a lot of business owners know about.
So give an example.
Let's a hot topic right now. ERTC, which stands for Employee Retention Tax Credits.
Yeah, big deal, right?
Total big deal, especially what's happened with us with PPP, what's happened because of COVID. And so the IRS is allowing tax credits now to be taken. And I was with a prospect last week. He had no idea that they even existed. And so we're now doing an analysis for him to find out if he qualifies, which up front he seems like he does. But after the analysis, we're telling him, look, we have worked with clients in the past that we're able to save them thousands of dollars, and sometimes tens of thousands in a certain case that I worked on as well. So that's real money.
Yeah,
And it to me, it's hard for me to kind of understand that not a lot of what I would call smaller or even mom and pop firms, and I'm not criticizing those types of firms, but I think they're being more just kind of transactional,
yeah,
just being worried about tax compliance, and nobody really takes the time to be an advisor to their client. So we're having conversations with our clients literally every single day on ways that we can help them. We kind of have a joke internally. We're not really an accounting firm. We're advisors that just happen to do taxes.
yeah,
So that's the approach that we take. And by the way, Mike, we talked about the personalities within the firm. My guys have always had the approach where we're not going to let our clients call us. We are going to proactively call them
hmm,
to inform them about ERTC or cost segregation or 1031 exchanges. We work with a lot of real estate clients.
yeah,
A lot of these guys don't know about the opportunities in the tax code. So we are continuously, proactively reaching out to our clients to say, hey, Mr. Client, there are ways that we can reduce your tax liability. And so 5 or 6 times a year, we're reaching out, trying to have some good strategic calls with them. And I got to tell you, my competition's not doing that. So
yeah.
it's a great way for us to differentiate ourselves.
Nice. And you talk about some really important things in my world, right? Cost segregation, 1031. And that was one of the things, when we first met at that Windy City
Yeah.
RIA event,
Yep.
we talked about that. And, not all tax shops know how to do cost segregation or work with a syndicator or people who are raising capital.
That's right.
And it takes there's a lot of nuances, especially when it comes to processing of K1s and the tax forms and all of that.
Absolutely.
So that was one of the reasons that talking to you was attractive, because you talk that language.
Yeah.
And when you talk to an accountant, and and they have a blank stare about some of that stuff, you go, well, wrong guy. So
Yeah, and to your point, Mike, I have talked to people where this is, prospective clients that tell me, yeah, my accountant never told me about this, or my accountant doesn't think that cost seg is real. I'm like, well, wait a minute. Let's run some numbers here. Let's show you again. Let's look at the figures, right? They don't
yeah,
lie. And so once you start educating them a little bit more, again, being that advisor and really showing them some real hard numbers, true dollars, it starts to make sense at that point. So,
yeah,
yeah, I really appreciate the fact that I think we got a good story to tell when we really become more of an advisor to our clients. And then secondarily, making sure that they stay compliant and we help them with the tax prep and the whole 9 yards there. But you can imagine like how deep those relationships go when you become more of an advisor, trusted advisor.
right, right. Hey, let me ask this. So, what's a conversation going on in the shop right now, in when it comes to this inflationary period that we're in, with rising costs and interest rates, and what's the conversation around the shop these days?
Yeah, that's a good question, especially coming out of, well, I'll say coming out of a pandemic. I don't know if we're totally out of it, but a lot of our clients survived the past few years with COVID, and we didn't have anybody close their doors. I mean, our clients still did pretty well, but now we have this potential recession looming, and obviously inflation has had an impact. Because we work with a lot of real estate professionals, a lot of real estate property investors, I see them kind of pulling back a little bit.
Hmm.
Now, with that being said, I still see some deals being done and there's transactions being made. But I think guys are taking one step back to say, okay, what's around the corner now? What's borrowing money going to look like? What are interest rates going to be like? So I think they're cautiously, and again, one step back, I don't think is a bad thing because it doesn't hurt to be cautious. I don't see any panic yet, but it's definitely on people's minds that they are trying to figure out what is that next step, because some feel that we're already in a recession, and I think statistically, I think the numbers say that we are, but the economy seems to still be chugging along pretty well, that maybe we're not in a full-blown recession.
Yeah,
So again, I think even though deals are still being done, I think people are still being cautious at that
yeah.
point.
Yeah, that's a conversation I heard over the last day or so on talk radio. Is the definition of a recession, right, is 2 quarters where the GDP is lost,
Right,
grow, and we just had that. But
right.
now, so nobody's calling it yet. Really, they're saying, well, but jobs are so good, and employment statistics are up, and
Spending is good.
yeah, spending is still relatively good. Real estate prices are still high. Nothing. So maybe it's not a recession. And this goes along. How do you can't just change the rules in the middle of the game.
Right, right.
So I think everybody needs to walk cautiously, though. I think it's going to be a little bit though too before sellers actually catch up with the fact that, hey, the market's changed a little bit. There needs to be some different repricing structures, because I'm still looking at deals and we're underwriting deals that are, overpriced,
Yeah,
clearly overpriced. And the funny thing is people are buying them, which
they are.
just, I don't know, when you buy high and then you come to a screeching halt in 20 months from now what are you going to do?
Exactly.
So, you got to think beyond just today. So,
Well, and to your point too, Mike, a lot of the conversations I had with, again, a lot of my real estate investor clients, where the issue they were having before we started talking about recession was inventory. They're like, I'm ready to buy, but I don't see anything out there that's worth the buy, so to
we're
speak. Now, again,
buying.
doesn't mean that the deals weren't getting done. They were, but they were being selective because there wasn't a lot out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Hey, so let's lighten it up a little bit. And any good vacations this year?
Mike, I have spent the past several months, I think I might have shared this with you when we had lunch a couple weeks ago. My daughter is getting ready to go off to college. So um, our vacations have been spent on college campuses trying to figure out where she's going to go. um, she has made a decision, and we're going to move her in about actually 2 weeks from today is moving day for her. So after that, I think my wife will and I will finally realize that we're going to be empty nesters, and I think we're going to head off and probably enjoy the time away for a little bit. So we haven't decided where yet, but the simple fact that we're able to and go by ourselves, I think, is exciting for us. So,
Nice. Good for you. That'll be fun.
yeah.
Hey, I always like to ask 3 questions of people as we get to the end.
Okay.
And being that you're a Chicago native, let's keep this Chicago focused.
Sure.
Best tourist attraction that you know here?
Very good question. I still get amazed. I was up in the Metropolitan Club, which is in I still call it Sears Tower,
Yeah.
last week. I actually met a couple White Sox players, by the way. So I'll just drop that.
Yeah.
But I am still amazed.
Means you're a White Sox fan?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Well, and if you look behind me, there's some Bears stuff as well, too. So I'm a Southsider. But to answer your question, I really enjoy going up to either the John Hancock or the Willis Tower because of the views. To me, never get old. They're still spectacular.
yeah. Yeah. That's for sure. I love to be up, especially on a clear day when you can see for forever,
Miles.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Best restaurant?
I think I was at it last night.
Oh, yeah.
Had some golf buddies come down, and we went out to Chicago Cut Steakhouse and enjoyed some red meat and wine.
Okay, nice.
But so I would have, but for me, it's a tie because RPM Steakhouse, I think, is fantastic as well. So when my wife and I go out, it's RPM, but it's definitely a steakhouse in Chicago.
Okay. And then best book you've ever read?
I love this book, Mike. It's called Bat 21. And I'll give you a quick synopsis of it. Obviously, I think I'm a huge golf fan.
Right.
Bat 21, and I think there's a movie about it as well. Bat 21 is a story about a Vietnam fighter pilot that got shot down in Vietnam. And the enemy could not find him, but they were clearly searching after him, and he was hiding. He had radio communication with headquarters, whatever station he was in Vietnam, but he knew that they could not tell him where to go because the enemy would eventually catch up to him. So what they did was they knew this fighter pilot was a golfer also. And so the way they were able to walk him out of enemy territory is they would tell him, and again, I won't remember his name, but I'll let you say his name was Mike. Mike, remember what Pebble Beach, the fourth hole on Pebble Beach looks like. And Mike would remember, oh yeah, it's about 400 yards long. There's a turn, there's a dog left about 250 yards. So they walked this guy out by giving him golf holes that he would have remembered.
Wow.
And he went by the yardage to get him out of there. Again, the enemy was listening to the radio broadcasts, the communications, but they had no idea what the fourth hole at Pebble Beach was.
Right.
But this pilot was such an avid golfer that he understood what they were saying. And these guys were able to walk him out of enemy territory based on the golf holes that he had played over the years. So
wow, that's
kind of cool.
Interesting story. What's the name of that again?
Bat 21. And actually, I think Gene Hackman, made a movie about it
okay.
a few years ago. Well, more than a few years ago.
Yeah.
But it's kind of an interesting story.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like a great book. Hey, Rich, how do people get a hold of you if they want to reach out?
Yeah, several ways. Feel free. Anybody can have access to my cell phone. My cell phone number is 312-203-6856. Feel free to call, leave a voicemail, text. And then obviously email as always works as well. You can see it at the bottom of the screen there, rscanland@cbiz.com.
Perfect. Thanks, Rich. Hey, appreciate you being here this morning and getting up early with us. I hope you have a great day. I'm going to move you to the back room. One last question. If you know anybody, from Chicago who would be a great guest on this Thursday morning live in the business world, not necessarily real estate, but real estate's okay. Let me know. I'm always looking for people for Thursday morning. So,
Mike, I've got a couple ideas right now. So yes, well, let's definitely chat.
Great. Yeah, virtual introductions are great. So, hey, I'm going to move you to the back room. Hang out with me for a minute. I'm going to say goodbye.
Thanks, Mike.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here this morning, Thursday Morning Live. We're here every week at 8:30 a.m. Central. Love for you. If you know somebody to reach out to me, let me know who might be a great guest on the show. Reach out to Rich if you have any questions or accounting questions, tax questions. We'll be in that time of year here again pretty quick. And remember, coming up Monday night, passive versus active webinar, where I'm going to just go through some fundamental real estate investing techniques and talk about the differences between active, taking care of tenants, trashing toilets, and passive investing, letting somebody else do it. So look forward to seeing you on Monday. If you want a link to that event, go ahead, just shoot me an email or text me, and I'll get that to you. Also, the Property Management Boot Camp, August 18th, starts at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, full day event. We're going to go over systems and strategies. Listen, get the knowledge so you can take the action and move forward to increase the bottom line. We just talked about it this morning, increasing the bottom line, but let's learn how to actively work those investments. Hey, everybody, thanks for being here.